Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2, Return of the Sketchfellows. This is In the Alley, episode 2. Jesse shakes his head.
Hello everyone. This is episode 5 of the podcast, the second episode of the In the Alley segment.
Episode 5 of the podcast, episode 2 of In the Alley. Just to clear it up. Right.
I'm Jesse Harder.
I'm Richard Dobbins.
And we're the creators of the Sketchfellows.
Yep. A brand new comedy podcast bringing you all kinds of fun, silly, dramatic experiences.
In the style of radio stories.
Radio shows, yeah. Because we love writing stories and we have all these stories we want to tell people about. And this was the best way we could think of to do it. We're not very creative. We just thought, yeah, I guess a podcast will work.
I mean, everybody's doing it these days, right?
Right. Plus, you don't get to see our ugly, ugly faces. Because who wants to see our ugly, ugly faces?
Oh, come on.
Well,
You're not that ugly.
Oh, Jesse, you flatter me. Well, you know what they say about voice actors, right? They say it's just a nice way of calling someone ugly. Because it's true.
I believe the phrase is radio pretty.
Radio pretty? Am I radio pretty, Jesse?
You are radio pretty, Richard.
Oh. Okay. Now that you've heard all about how pretty we are, I never said Jesse was pretty. Jesse, you're pretty.
Thank you.
Now that you've heard...
You heard that right. I'm pretty. He's radio pretty.
Yeah, okay. Now that you've heard how pretty we are. So we are the creators of this awesome podcast that you're listening to right now, and you're probably wondering what the heck this podcast is all about. If you're not a new listener and you've been hearing our other episodes from the past 2 months, you probably have a better idea of what this podcast is about. So it all started a year ago, not quite a year ago.
I don't think it was that long ago.
It was that long. It was like last fall.
So it's getting there.
It's getting there.
About a year ago.
About a year ago, we came up with this idea. I had just started investing in a home recording setup, and I was telling Jesse about it. And Jesse said, "Oh, that's really cool. I have this audio story that I had written."
Should I tell them about it?
You can tell them about it because you know more about it than I do.
Basically, I have a history of writing some stories, and at one point in the past, I wrote one with a friend, and we would write back and forth through email. And I got bored while waiting for his email responses, so I started screwing around on my computer with GarageBand and started recording the story the two of us were working on. That went fantastically, given that I was doing all the voices, male and female, and the narrator.
You had the little the chipmunk squeaky voice.
Yeah, I used a lot
shifter.
of pitch alteration stuff. I'm not very good with accents, so I only had a certain number. Basically, I stopped when I ran out of voices that I was able to do. But Richard seemed to like this.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I definitely saw the potential in it. And I went through and dug through some of my old collection of fiction that I had been writing over the years. And I always thought I was terrible at writing fiction because I could come up with ideas and start writing. And then as soon as I came up with 3 or 4 tangents, I would go, oh no, too many to handle. And I would stop. But with the sort of the format of this radio show is great because, you know, it's everything's episodic. So you can write a storyline that's, 10 minutes long, and then that's it. And then, the only hard part is with some of our segments, we have recurring characters. So we have to kind of come up with the concepts for the characters and keep them going. Which is not too difficult once you kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And I have always, if I've ever had an issue with any of my stories, it's I hate endings. Conclusions are great. I love conclusions, but I hate for things to end. And I for the most part, have never really come up with an idea where I knew how I wanted it to end. Because I never wanted it to end. I just wanted to continually experience the adventures of the characters I'd come up with.
Right.
So part of that is why I never ever really tried to move forward with anything I wrote as far as doing anything with it. But when Richard proposed that we could do this podcast and that it would actually be a way of delivering one of my ideas to people, I admit my first reaction was, can we actually pull that off? And he was like, yes, we can. I was like, okay, if you say so, I'm on board.
I'm an ambitious son of a bitch. That's,
Richard is an ambitious son of a bitch. I'm just going to say the phrase, ambitious son of a bitch, a lot.
And yeah, so I was kind of the one that said, yeah, no, this is totally doable because I'm crazy and I can never be too busy.
And one of the major reasons that my original audio recording thing stopped and didn't go anywhere, and I only show it to friends, is because I only had myself as a voice actor. But with it actually put in my head by Richard that this could be a thing and could work, I actually went through the effort of recruiting friends. So, for the most part, a lot of the voices that you will hear or have heard in the episodes of our podcast are done by our friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now we've got, sort of an army of collaborators, friends working together on this podcast.
Some that you've heard and some that you will hear.
Some that you may not ever hear, but you'll get to hear their stories because they're writing stories for us and getting featured
and even more who may one day draw art for us. Who knows?
Yay. So yeah, we got quite a production under our belts here, and we're always working to bring you more episodes and keep this thing going for as long as we feel like it.
As long as we can.
As long as we can, and heck, I enjoy it and I love it, and I want to keep it going as long as we possibly can.
I don't like endings, so hopefully
Jesse, it's on the record. Jesse hates endings.
This will never hopefully end. This never ends until...
will never end until we decide that it will end.
Or die.
It will not end. No, because we'll have other people. We'll pass it on. It'll never end, Jesse.
Or we could upload our consciousness to some kind of
digital... Hopefully by the time we're near death, there'll be that technology around. Yeah. We'll just exist on, the cyber network. We'll have a cyber network podcast that all the other, cyber uploaded people can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. One day. Anyway, I think it's time to cut to a commercial break. We're going to take a little quick break here, and then we'll give you a word from our sponsors. So stay tuned.
You've seen wrestling, but you haven't seen the biggest wrestling event to grace this earth since Hercules himself fought every animal in the Athens Zoo. Get ready for Gladiators of the Universe. This weekend, don't miss the wrestling event of a lifetime when all the biggest, baddest fighters on earth duke it out in over 90 minutes of pure, unadulterated violence. Featuring Professor Vile Driver, the Defenestrator, Genghis Dad, and Black Betty fighting in a free-for-all cage match suspended 30 feet above a tank of starving piranha fish. Don't wait! Order the world's biggest wrestling matchup for the low, low price of just $89.99. Call today!
Whew.
So we'd like to tell you a little bit about each of the segments that if you've listened to the other episodes, you've heard already. But our podcast has four segments, three of which are stories.
And the fourth one is this, just us rambling on and on about the other three segments.
Or this one can be a lot of things. You'll hear us talking to you from time to time. You'll hear improv or our sponsors.
Music. We've got
sponsors. How do you do air quotes with your voice?
I don't know. There's got to be a way to do it.
Oh, wait, it's our quote-unquote sponsors.
There you go.
Yes.
Anyway, so lots of stuff will happen in this segment. music, improv segments, funny little bits of segments that we've written that don't really fit into the other three that we have. Kind of our conglomeration of...
This one's the wild card.
Yeah, the wild card. Whatever you want to call it.
But we'd like to tell you a little bit about the other three, and we want to start with the Library of Shadows.
Right, so the Library of Shadows was the first
full-length episode
that was released about over a month ago. The Library of Shadows was one of the segments that we came up with to kind of encapture the feeling of the old time
radio mysteries,
the radio mysteries,
horror
genre, calling to mind TV shows like the Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt, anything in that vein. But we wanted to do it in a way that could feature sort of one-off segments, because rather than have a recurring storyline as we do with the other two segments that we're featuring, Library of Shadows is sort of one-off. Every week or every time an episode rolls around, it'll be a different story
with the potential for continuation.
It's not. It's totally not out of the question. As you might have heard with the first episode, it ended in kind of a cliffhanger, so we'll see if we ever see Arthur and David again. Maybe not. Maybe the curator just doesn't like them and he'll just burn that book after he's done reading it. But I don't know.
It doesn't seem much like a thing that the curator would do.
He would never burn his books.
Yes.
He would give them to children.
Okay.
Because children need to learn how to read. And what better way to learn how to read than to be scared to death while you're reading?
Okay.
So the way that we've been coming up with the stories for the Library of Shadows varies greatly. The first episode was actually a story that Jesse had written.
I play role-playing games. I've run some, and one of the games that I ran, or have run in the past, is Call of Cthulhu. Now, I wrote my own mission for Call of Cthulhu and called it The Manor of Madness, and it was based around the players ending up in a haunted mansion where the doors would lead to other places. And so some of what you heard as The Manor of Madness stems from my original concept, but I have since had other people run the mission their own way, and Richard took it and rolled with it his own way. Right. None of the characters were ones I created, or at least not necessarily as I created them. I think the only two that are remotely like things from the original mission are, Vincent?
The ghost, yeah.
The ghost. And
the owner, right?
The owner,
yeah.
The Blue Fog.
The Blue Fog. So like Jesse said, that episode was something that he had come up with a long time ago. I sort of took the outline and in my head ran a game, and thought, okay, well, if I had these two characters, what would they do? Where would they go? How would they get stuck in the mansion? And so we came up with that. And that was like, I think it was our earliest script that we at least the script story that we had come up with, because it was already kind of in place, and then we just kind of took it and adapted it for a radio podcast audio story format. So that one was a lot of fun to do. A lot of potential, or at least that one is sort of, to me, I enjoy the idea of it the most, because like we said before, they're all one-off episodes, with the potential for part 2s and part 3s and whatnot. But they're all one-off episodes. So we're not tied down to any one series of characters. We can have throwaway characters. We can have new settings. We can have new time periods, and so it's kind of a great way to give ourselves a little bit more freedom when we're writing and casting these episodes.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about the other 2 episodes coming up. We're going to take another short break. Another message from our sponsors awaits you.
Sponsors.
Sponsors. Air quote, sponsors.
Quote, unquote, sponsors.
Right.
You've seen wrestling, but you haven't seen wrestling so out of this world. From the studio who brought you Gladiators of the Universe comes the next biggest thing to leave this planet. Gladiators of the Universe in space! It's an all-out, no-holds-barred showdown. Watch the Singularity face Undead Andre the Giant in the Dyson Ring, speeding 300 miles above the Earth at over 17,000 miles per hour. No gravity, no rules, just 2 of the biggest names in the universe. Will Singularity defend his title as champion of the cosmos, or will Andre turn the reigning champ onto Uranus? Find out this weekend. Don't delay. Order now!
Awesome. Welcome back. We are now going to talk about my favorite segment, where we take you on a journey through time and space. Space. Fabled Frontiers. The epic of Captain Valerie Troy and Admiral John Marshall, 2 of the Solar Collective's most decorated officers on their journey through the stars. If you think this sounds a lot like Star Trek, you're probably right, because it does sound like Star Trek.
It's... Both Richard and I are fans of Star Trek.
I'm also a huge fan of parody.
Indeed.
And so anything that exists within the realm of science fiction is not safe when it comes to Fabled Frontiers, because I will take it and I will parody it. And even things outside of the realm of science fiction are not safe.
Indeed.
Because I enjoy parodying everything. Without giving too much away for the future, I enjoy a wide variety of television, and nearly every show that I enjoy has a Fabled Frontiers episode written about it. Maybe not written about it, but conceived somewhere in my mind, and eventually it will see the light of day.
Most of which, I believe our format for the Fabled Frontiers titles have all been puns. Yes?
Every one of them just about, yeah. What was the first episode, Autopilot.
Play on words.
Play on words. The upcoming episodes play on words, as you'll see when they get released, and so on and so forth. So Fabled Frontiers is silly. Very silly.
In general, I find that Richard is a bit funnier than I am when it comes to the writing, but it's okay because I'm prettier.
I would say we are an equal funniness, but my style of funny is more silly and immature.
Richard is sillier.
I'm sillier than Jesse. Jesse can be silly.
How many times do you think we can say the word sillier?
Silly. That was what, like 20 times so far?
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration.
We'll have a silly counter later at some point. It'll go ding when there's silly.
What is the point of that? They can hear the word silly.
That's just for me to keep track. It's silly.
I suppose it is.
Enough about me being silly.
So you were saying that Fabled Frontiers is, in general, going to be silly.
Oh yeah, very much so. Even the characters themselves are huge parodies of famous, characters from science fiction and from other similar media. The character of John Marshall is very much like he's the head of the ship. He's the macho man in charge, but he's a total buffoon. He's like, kind of like, a super exaggerated version of Captain Kirk. He's kind of the suave dude in charge, but a lot of the times other crew members can shine above him, and there are many opportunities for him to do so. But Captain John Marshall comes along and says, "No, I'm larger than life, and I'm here to take it all on."
And sometimes that gets everyone in trouble.
And it gets everyone in trouble.
And sometimes it gets everyone out of trouble.
Yeah.
As
kind
you've
of funny
seen
how
with
that
the
works.
first episode.
Yeah, kind of funny how that works.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think of him as Fabled Frontiers Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not the only protagonist. He's not the only one that things are about.
Right.
But he's the goofy, silly one who people tend to like to hear from.
Yeah.
Because he's silly.
Yeah. And then so there's the other crew members. There's the actual one in charge, Captain Valerie Troy, who's kind of an embodiment of like Captain Janeway from Voyager, and other similar, strong leading female characters. And she is definitely in opposition to pretty much everything that Marshall does. And that sort of brings out elements of her character. It also brings out elements of Marshall's character when the two of them, butt heads. And so there's an interesting dynamic between those two. You'll get to see a lot more of that as the episodes go on.
I think it's kind of epitomized by that one line you wrote where she's like, "What were you thinking?" And he says,
"I don't think." That is, I think that
who has
sum
time for
up
thinking?
their relationship in the crew and the cast of the ship. The other characters, this is sort of the supporting characters on the ship. The first mate, Anderson Scarlett, who actually Jesse portrays quite well.
And it is worth mentioning, since it wasn't that Richard portrays Marshall.
Of course.
And I do Anderson Scarlett.
So we,
Scarlett is somewhat inspired by the Red vs. Blue character Simmons, for those of you who know what Red vs. Blue is. He's supposed to be kind of a, kiss.
He kisses ass and he likes to follow the rules to a T.
Yes, and he has immense respect for Captain Troy, and less for John Marshall.
Still has respect for John Marshall, but less than he does for...
He respects authority and the chain of command,
Right.
but does not so much respect Marshall's methods.
Yes. So he's often conflicted because he knows that Captain Troy is often the one who's correct and this, the smart decision to go with. But he also knows that the Admiral's orders supersede the Captain's orders. And so there's some funny situations that he gets himself into later on where he's kind of torn between the two and he's not really sure which way to go. Because he's, stuck between common sense and duty, which, when it comes to the Admiral, are often mutually exclusive.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then the last of the current protagonists, the last of the current protagonists for Fabled Frontiers is the pilot.
Pip Pemberton.
Who is, unlike the rest of the characters, he is inspired by another character.
Right.
But it is a character who also comes from a...
It was a role-playing group that I ran, actually. So Jesse mentioned earlier that he used to run a Call of Cthulhu group, and that's where the Library of Shadows Manor of Bandus came from. A few years ago, we ran a Serenity tabletop, which is based on the Firefly universe from the beloved TV show. Rest in peace.
Indeed.
And so we ran a tabletop with a crew of a ship, and our good friend Sam had created a character who was the pilot of that ship, and
whose name was Rod.
His name was Rodney McGee, and he was the silliest character I'd ever seen. He was like I said, he was the pilot of our ship, and he was always drunk.
It's worth noting that Sam is one of the silliest people you will ever meet.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a match made in heaven, and so when we came up with this idea to do this Fabled Frontiers, this space science fiction parody,
and had
show,
Sam as one of the people that
and so
would be a voice actor for us.
Right. So we came up with this idea to do Fabled Frontiers, and I almost immediately said, we need to have Sam come in and do his Rodney McGee character. Because he had us busting up laughing every time we had a session. And, so I said, we got to write his character in here somewhere. So we took his character, modified it a little bit so that he would kind of fit with the rest of the crew better. And so then there you have Pip Pemberton, probably the silliest pilot in the Solar Collective,
and yet somehow also one of the best.
Also one of the best, inexplicably. We don't really know.
Will we explain it one day? I'm not sure that we know ourselves.
Stay tuned to find out. Oh. Right, so enough about that. We're going to cut to another break, and we'll get back to you real soon here. We're going to talk about our last segment, The Crossroads. Jesse will do most of the talking, since that's his segment. Yeah, so we'll get right back to you after this word from our quote-unquote sponsors.
In every age, there is a champion, one whose strength is unmatched, and whose title remains uncontested. But for the first time in history, a true champion of the champions will be named. This weekend, on Gladiators of the Universe, one person will stand above all others and be named the greatest warrior in history. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime event as the most deadly names in history battle it out on the world stage. Hercules, Rambo, Conan the Barbarian, Thor, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Doctor Doom, and your defending champ, the greatest warrior in history, John Cena! This is one event you won't want to miss. Catch all the planet-shattering action this weekend on pay-per-view for just $39.99. Don't miss this!
You gonna catch that?
I don't know. I've never been one for wrestling myself.
Yeah. I mean, me neither, but I mean, they just sold it so well. I mean,
I know.
It does sound pretty epic, you gotta admit.
Oh, I mean, if anyone could get me to watch wrestling, it's definitely them.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna talk more for a while, given that the Crossroads was originally my idea. Which
Sure.
What is that supposed to imply?
Sure, it was all your idea, Jesse.
I conceived of the Crossroads before I met Richard. So...
But I didn't tell you about the part where I time traveled back to when you were in high school and inceptioned the idea to you.
No comment.
It happened, folks.
Anyway, I came up with the original idea for the Crossroads about 6 years ago. And the original idea was that some person, it ended up being Angela, would somehow develop the ability to DJ without any prior experience and no reasonable explanation. And from there, I started thinking, well, what would the explanation be? Where would this happen? And that's how I came up with the Crossroads. And then I proceeded to populate it with characters that I thought were interesting and fun to write about. Mm-hmm. In addition, I actually conceived of this out-of-nowhere DJing ability while playing the game DJ Hero.
Yeah, it was based on a real-life experience.
Definitely, because I felt like playing that game, it was just like being able to DJ with no other prior experience. It made you feel like a DJ. Guitar Hero, not so much, but DJ Hero.
DJ Hero. Having no prior DJ experience, Jesse felt like he was the world's master DJ.
I didn't, but I thought it would be cool if a character did. So, that's where the idea came from. And now you've had a chance to hear some of those characters in that setting. And for the most part, where I hope to see it going is that the Crossroads will be slightly slightly more serious than Fabled Frontiers.
Slightly?
Okay. It's significantly more serious than
We're
Fabled
talking
Frontiers.
day and night here.
Okay. So the Crossroads will be more serious than Fabled Frontiers. I would still like there to be some humor in it for entertainment purposes,
Of
but
course.
it's supposed to be more character-driven, focus more on the development of the characters and the interactions between them, as well as the mystery of the Crossroads. For the Crossroads, there is a lot more to the Crossroads than meets the eye, and I'm hoping that you will come to learn all of its secrets, as Angela does.
One day,
One day.
when you're older.
Are you trying to relate this to, like, the birds and the bees or something like that?
Jesse's. That's going to be the big reveal for the Crossroads. It's going to be the last episode is going to be a sit down, and Jesse's just going to like give you the talk. Spoilers.
Yeah, I think we're just going to throw the whole segment away now. Richard's just
I
spoiled
just
the whole
spoiled
thing.
everything.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done. Bye
No.
bye. Peace out.
No,
It was fun.
I'm looking.
Yeah, so that's sort of the gist of the Crossroads, straight from the Jesse's mouth. About
As much as I could tell you without
as much
giving
as
you
Jesse can tell you without.
because anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely hate spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to tell them about.
Yes. Do not mention.
And the fact that James is actually.
You know, or the fact that Angela and Viola.
So yeah, that's about all we can say about that.
Without giving you too many spoilers.
Without giving away too many spoilers. Yeah, so we're going to take one more break here. We are actually have a song for you guys.
Yeah, this break is a bit different.
A little bit different. We got a new, a good friend of ours has a new musical project happening, and we thought we'd give him a little bit of airtime on our podcast. So take a listen. This is Fudge Supreme singing "We," open parentheses, don't, close parentheses, suck, open parentheses, live, close parentheses. Or "We don't suck live."
Our songs sound so much better before we record them. Do we just suck? Or is it the microphone? Do we just sound bad through microphones? In my head, the song was just perfect, but our voices sound so bad. But we've been practicing and we rule now. We'll take you to school now. Rock! This was sounding really good when we were rehearsing. I was playing the drums and he was on guitar and we were really rocking. Then we started recording and it sounds like shit.
I opened up the stopper and it was really intimidating, so I pressed some buttons and all of a sudden we were recording and I was not ready and the recording did not rock at all.
Our voices suck. Our songs sound so much better before we record them. But it's okay. Our focus is on writing. Just wait for the bridge. It's sick. Oh my God, we sound just like the Strokes.
Let him feel it. The stuff at the end was stupid.
No.
So they don't suck live. So they're trying to tell us that they sound great live. But we don't know because I wasn't live. We just got to take their word for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they didn't suck.
No.
Like, they were great. Now I want to know if they don't suck live.
We basically need to hear them live.
We need to hear them live.
And everyone else does too.
Yeah, we need to hear them live. It'll happen eventually. Get in touch with the band. Fudge Supreme.
Fudge Supreme.
They got a SoundCloud. Check them out. Google that. We Don't Suck Live by Fudge Supreme. Anyway, speaking of promotion, you know what goes well with promotion?
What, Richard? What goes well with promotion?
Self-promotion.
Ooh,
Because
the best
not only-
kind of promotion.
Right, because not only does Fudge Supreme have a website, we have a website.
We have a website,
Oh.
we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter,
We have almost everything.
we're on iTunes.
On iTunes. There is no way you cannot get a hold of us. Send
Yeah.
pigeons our way. We'll read those.
Yes. We would very much love your support, and there are numerous ways that you can do that. Subscribing to the podcast on iTunes, leaving comments, following us on Twitter, Facebook,
Telling a friend.
telling a friend.
Word of mouth
Please tell friends.
is the best way to spread things. You know, that's the best way to spread things is with your mouth.
Or a butter knife.
If you want to contact us, check out our website, thesketchfellows.com. You can check out our contacts page. We've got our email, sketchfellows@gmail.com. We got a Facebook page, facebook.com/sketchfellows. Our Twitter handle, @sketchfellows. Check us out there. Subscribe. Keep up to date on when new episodes are coming out. Any other news that we've got related to our podcast. Spread the word. Tell your friends. So check out our episodes every other Thursday morning. Same time, same place, subject to change. So that's our show for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. From the old dumpster behind Safeway, I say good night, America. From the back streets to Beverly Hills, to the desert fields and the frozen lakes, and all the ships at sea.
No, Richard, stop. Just turn it off.
What? Oh, come on. It's so cool, though.
Yeah, but we
Are you
already
saying,
did...
are you hating on America?
No, but we
Do you
already
not
did
want
that
to hear
joke.
the national anthem?
No, we already did that joke. And
Fine,
those-
I'll play the actual theme song, outro music.
Thank you.